Hey you! You're watching a highlight from the DynamiteGizmo podcast. This is not the full episode. It is just a clip. But if you want to watch the full episode, make sure to click right here. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Do it right now. Bryce Mitchell is next. I don't know if y'all saw this video. I don't know if you care about this video. Of course you care. Let's just take a listen, take a watch.
Good morning, y'all. I need all my Christian warriors to pray for me that I would have peaceful sleep. Every single night since the day before the press conference, I've had demonic dreams. Legions of demons have taken me every single time.
Legions.
And not one time have I seen any peaceful sleep since that day. These demons surround me and they try to fight me and provoke me to anger.
That's right, Bryce.
The dream will switch and they'll send beautiful women and they're trying to get me to lust, to cheat on my wife. Satan's using two of my weaknesses to try to expose the evil in my own heart, which is anger and lust.
Okay.
However, where I am weak, the Lord is strong.
You damn right,
so
Bryce.
please pray for me.
I'm praying.
Especially if you're fasting right now. Please pray that I would have peaceful sleep, that God would send Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael, Samson,
the Ninja Turtles, right?
Over me and protect me with the shield of faith. Remember, guys, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness, dark principalities, and evil powers in high places. I'm not just fighting a man on April 12th. I'm fighting a man possessed by a legion of demons.
Legion.
When I simply said the name Jesus, he was provoked to maliciousness. And he started barking like a dog and chanting, F you, F you, F you. Remember, guys, the days of me fighting for myself are long gone. I now fight for the name of the Lord. And the devil, he ain't going to waste his time trying to plague a loser. He knows that a victory for the Lord is at.
Yeah, Bryce. Okay, listen, I like Bryce. I'm on Bryce's side. I want Bryce to win. We all want. Well, see, I don't know. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, we all want Bryce to win now. And not because of this. Well, maybe it is because of this, but I think everyone was on the John Silva train. We all love John Silva. He was hyped, and he's still hyped. But that press conference changed everything. Immediately, there was division between these two characters. And Bryce is so... have you ever seen a strategy like this before? I've never seen a strategy like this before. He's throwing demons into the mix. Now, mind you, you could say it's demons, but I believe it's just anxiety, Bryce. It's anxiety, you're losing sleep over it because it's a combination of two things. One, it's the fact that you put out that podcast, that crazy-ass podcast episode, and there was so much backlash on that shit. You've never experienced that much hate at once before. So that's a lot to process. So that alone is weighing in on your head. And then two, you've got the press conference where everyone's continuing to boo you, and John Silva's really getting in your head, dude. So metaphorically speaking, yes, you could say it is demons, but it's just anxiety, I would say. Or it's the CTE. Josh Emmett hit you a little too hard, baby. It shook the sane out of you. I still like Bryce. You can tell. He's a good guy. He means well. He really means well. He said some shit. He continues to say some shit, but he's not saying as much crazy shit as he was before. Now he's just like extra really religious. Which is fine, which is good. And I think because he has taken that route, that means the majority of people are going to be on his side, as they should be. And as much as I love the Fighting Nerds as a whole, and I love John Silva specifically, which I didn't always actually. To begin with, I thought he was really weird and strange how he was just like when he first started to make appearances in the UFC, after, like his post-fight interviews in the octagon, he was just over the top grateful and hugging, and even, he does the thing during the fight where he's high-fiving guys and he's helping guys up and and it was like, come on, dude, it's too much. You're a little too loving. But then as he progressed and as the Fighting Nerds as a whole progressed, the character builds on you. When you look at him and you go, ooh, this is a nice guy. This is a cool character. This is a nice cat. And right up until his last fight that he just had, that really blew him into the fucking atmosphere. Because he's been dominating the entire time, but this time you reach a point in the UFC where it's that one fight that puts you over the top, and it's like, okay, now he's known. Everybody knows him, and that last fight was the fight that John Silva had that put him over the edge. And it just so happened that after he did that, it aligned at the same time that Bryce did all his shit, and they're in the same weight class, and they're both up at the same level. So of course it makes sense to match them together. So these are two likable characters that are both in the public eye for different aspects and different things. But they're both liked, or at least they were liked. John Silva's very liked. But then Bryce Mitchell was always liked until that podcast. So that brought him back down. But he was still in the public's eye. So it's like now John Silva's the good guy and Bryce Mitchell's the bad guy. Then you clash them together. Okay, now they're going to fight. Okay, then you have the press conference. But then look what happens. During the press conference, John Silva knows that he's really, really liked. Loved, I would say. And Bryce Mitchell knows that all this shit that's been going on has caused him to be a controversial figure in the UFC space. Okay? So John Silva rises up and uses that against Bryce. Okay? But he does it a little too much. He does it a little too aggressively. And he becomes cocky. Very, too much cocky. Okay? And Bryce is just trying to speak his mind. And also, mind you, that Bryce was just on the Jackson podcast trying to speak his mind, and they shut him down as well. Which that kind of put Bryce Mitchell back in the good graces of people to begin with. But now, at this press conference, John Silva's such a fucking cocky little asshole and annoying. He was being really annoying, over the top. That now made Bryce the likable guy, and now John Mitchell is the evil one. And it happened almost immediately. The switch happened almost immediately. So when you put all those factors together, it's just one of the many things that makes this fight so goddamn exciting. So goddamn exciting. Mitchell is hated. Now he's the good guy. And John Mitchell's the bad guy. Now anyway, Bryce is comparing John Mitchell to like a demon, saying he is a demon. And even if Bryce Mitchell wasn't as religious as he is, and if it wasn't Bryce Mitchell fighting John Silva, if it could have been anyone fighting John Mitchell, if there was anyone in the UFC that you could compare to a demon, it would be John Mitchell. Because of just the way he acts, the shit that he does.
No cage do RFA e depois a comemoração que eu não entendi muito bem.
Este é o guerreiro Jean Lorde Assassino Silva!
Aqui.
Now this is old footage, but he still does. He doesn't go this hard, but he does this shit. Who else does this? He's very aggressive. He's very strange. He's a barking animal. So even though you might say like Bryce is crazy, he's a little too religious, and maybe you don't actually believe what he says, but when you kind of look into it, you're like, if God was real, And if God did pick someone that he wanted to fight for him to fight off a demon, these would be the two characters that you would pick to do this. It's kind of weird how it just kind of makes sense, even though Bryce is whatever. The story does actually line up. But if we're looking at it from a kind of a reality perspective, I think Bryce is just his thoughts are a little too intrusive, and he's taking them in a direction that he shouldn't be. And we've even got guys like Sean Strickland saying, like, I love Bryce, don't hold this against me, but therapy would do him wonders. If every time I had an intrusive thought, I thought, oh, it's the devil, I'd lose my mind. Intrusive thoughts aren't the devil, Bryce. Probably just fight anxiety manifesting itself in a fucked up thought. Say what you will about Sean Strickland, that is like a perfect summary of what's going on with Bryce right now. It's 100% just anxiety, and it's just manifesting itself in this way. But Bryce truly believes that it's demons, okay? Now, in the perspective of fighting, UFC fighting, when you really think about it, having that perspective, imagining that the person you're fighting is an actual fucking demon and you need to destroy and kill this thing for God, like, is there any more motivating factor to fight another person? Like, I don't think so. So this is actually really going to work in his benefit, which also makes it exciting for the fans to watch. But with that being said, Sean Strickland's still right. He should probably talk to someone about this, therapist. And Sean's the biggest advocate for not going to therapy. He's really against that sort of shit. So for him to say this, it's like, all right, maybe you should go see someone, Bryce. It might not hurt. And there is one other thing, like Jean Silva did reply to Bryce Mitchell after he put out that video. Bryce, two things. These are not demons. It's just you being afraid to face me. And second, about that beautiful women, you have a hormone called testosterone, and you probably have problems with it. Just be ready for April 12th because I will be. I don't exactly know what he's saying about the testosterone thing, because if Bryce is having lust thoughts about potentially cheating on his wife, that would mean that he's just a little more horny for girls, right? Which would mean his testosterone is higher. When if his testosterone's higher, then that means he's going to have the advantage against John Silva. So I get what he was trying to do here, but it doesn't fucking make sense what you just said, John Silva. You fucking crusty asshole. If there ever was a fighting nerd that I would want to lose, and I do want to lose, it's this one. Right here, right now. And if it wasn't for this Bryce Mitchell situation, I'm voting for, I want the fighting nerds to continue to stay undefeated for as long as possible. And it could still happen, but it would be so nice just to have Bryce win. It would be absolutely thrilling for Bryce to win for so many different reasons.
Tap here to watch the full episode of the Dynamite Gizmo podcast.